The wind whispered through the broken walls of what was once a home. Dust drifted in faint light from a cracked ceiling. A cradle sat in the middle of the ruined room, small, empty, covered with a thin blanket that had turned pale from time. Lyra sat beside it. Her silver skin glowed faintly under the moonlight that filtered through the ruins. Her eyes, once bright with life, were dull and swollen from years of crying. Every night she came back to the same place. Every night she whispered to the same emptiness. "Little one," she said softly, touching the cradle, "I am still here." The world around her had changed. The city of the Kari, her people, had fallen many years ago during the human war. Humans had come from the skies with fire and metal. The Kari had fought back, but in the chaos, families were torn apart. Children vanished. Villages burned. Lyra's child was taken that night. Some said the humans killed the infants to end their bloodline. Others said they sold them for study. Lyra didn't care about rumors. She only knew her baby was gone and the cradle remained empty. Now the war had ended. The planet was silent. But peace did not heal her heart. Every evening she lit a small blue lantern beside the cradle. It was her way of calling to the stars, praying that maybe, just maybe, someone out there would hear her and bring her child home. The others called her mad. "It's been 5 cycles," they told her. "Humans do not return what they take." But she never stopped waiting. That night the air felt strange. The wind carried a faint rhythmic sound like static mixed with something else. It wasn't natural. It came from the old transmitter tower outside the ruins. Lyra frowned. "The signal?" she whispered. The tower had been dead for years. No one had the power to use it anymore. She rose from the ground, pulling her worn cloak around her body, and stepped into the cold. The air outside smelled of ash and rust. The tower stood tall, half-broken, wires hanging like vines. Blue sparks flashed at its base. When she came closer, she froze. A faint noise came from an old speaker, half buried in dust. It wasn't just static. It was, she could swear it, a sound like a baby's cry. Her heart pounded. No, that can't be. The cry came again. Weak, distant, fading in and out with the static. Lyra grabbed the small receiver attached to her belt. It was tuned to the ancient military frequencies. The signal repeated again, but this time there were human words mixed within the static. Returning what was lost. Her hands trembled. "Human words," she hissed. "They dare use this frequency?" She ran back to the ruins and looked up at the night sky. On the far horizon, a faint light flickered, a small ship entering the atmosphere. Her breath caught. No one had come here in years. She rushed to her hiding place beneath the floorboards, pulling out a rusted plasma blade. It barely worked, but it was all she had. "If it's another scavenger," she muttered, "they will not touch this place." Hours passed. The ship's light vanished behind the mountains. Then the night grew still. Lyra sat by the cradle again, her blade in hand. The faint sound of boots echoed outside the ruins, not the light steps of a Kari scout. These were heavier, mechanical, human. Her pulse quickened. Through the cracks in the wall, she saw movement, a tall figure wearing dark armor, carrying something wrapped in cloth. He walked slowly, as if hurt. The silver of his armor glinted under the moon, a human soldier. Lyra's breath caught in her throat. Rage flared through her chest. She gripped her weapon tighter. The human stopped near the doorway, scanning the room. Then, with effort, he knelt beside the old cradle. He placed the wrapped object on the floor and sat beside it, shoulders shaking from exhaustion. He took off his helmet. His face was pale, bearded, scarred. His eyes, tired, kind, and heavy with sadness, looked around as if searching for someone. When he spoke, his voice was rough and quiet. I kept my promise." Lyra didn't move. She stayed hidden, her heart pounding. The man looked down at the small bundle. His gloved hand trembled as he brushed the cloth aside. For a moment, Lyra saw something small inside. A delicate hand, pale and thin. Her chest tightened. No, it couldn't be. It wasn't possible. Her mind screamed to stay hidden, to wait, but her heart wouldn't listen. She stepped from the shadows. "Don't move," she hissed. The plasma blade hummed weakly in her grip, glowing blue. "Step away from the cradle." The man turned slowly, startled. His eyes widened at the sight of her. Silver skin, glowing eyes, trembling with fury. He didn't reach for his weapon. Instead, he raised his hands. "I'm not your enemy," he said softly. Lyra's voice broke. Your kind took everything. My home, my people, She couldn't finish. Her throat closed with pain. The man lowered his head. I know, he whispered, and I can't change that. But I can do this one thing right. What are you talking about? She demanded. He looked at the cradle. The child, he said. Your child? Lyra froze. No, she said, shaking her head. You lie. My baby was taken years ago. Humans, I found her, he interrupted softly, in the ruins of the battlefield. She was barely alive. I couldn't leave her. I raised her. Waited for a day I could bring her back. The room seemed to spin. Lyra's vision blurred with tears and disbelief. No, you're lying. The man nodded slowly as if expecting her to say that. He unwrapped the cloth further. A small alien child, maybe 5 cycles old, slept peacefully inside. Her skin shimmered faintly in the light, silver like Lyra's own. Around her neck hung a pendant carved with a Kari symbol, the mark of Lyra's clan. Her breath stopped. She fell to her knees. The blade clattered from her hand, its light fading. That's impossible. The man's voice was gentle now, like someone speaking to a frightened soul. I promised her mother I'd bring her home. I didn't know if you were alive. Lyra looked up at him through tears. Why would a human do this? Why now? He took a deep breath. Because I was there, he said. The day we took this world, I saw what we did, and I couldn't live with it. Silence filled the room. The wind outside stopped. Lyra's hands trembled as she reached toward the sleeping child. Her fingers brushed the child's cheek. The girl stirred, eyes opening slowly, silver just like hers. For a heartbeat, time stopped. The little one blinked at her, confused, then smiled faintly and whispered, Mama? Lyra broke. A sound escaped her, half cry, half laughter as she gathered the child into her arms. The man turned away, letting her hold the child in peace. For the first time in years, the empty cradle was no longer empty. But before Lyra could speak, a distant alarm echoed through the ruins, sharp, mechanical, getting closer. The man's expression changed. He looked toward the window, then back at Lyra. They followed me, he said quietly. Your patrols, they'll kill me on sight. Lyra clutched her child tighter. Then you shouldn't have come, he smiled weakly. Maybe, but I couldn't let her grow up thinking her people were gone. Outside, bright lights cut through the dark. The hum of engines filled the air. Lyra turned to him, eyes wide with fear and confusion. What do we do now? The human reached for his helmet, sealing it again. His voice came through the mask, calm and steady. You run. I'll buy you time. She shook her head, tears still falling. You'll die. He glanced at the cradle, then at the little girl asleep in her arms. Some things are worth it. He stepped toward the doorway, rifle in hand, body shaking from fatigue. The blue lantern flickered beside the cradle, its light dancing across the walls, and as he disappeared into the night, Lyra whispered the same words she had spoken for years, but now, they meant something new. Come back to us, outside. The first shots echoed through the ruins. The battle began again, but this time it wasn't for conquest. It was for redemption. The night sky above the ruins exploded with flashes of blue light. The sound of plasma fire echoed through the broken city. Lyra crouched behind a wall, holding her sleeping child tightly against her chest. Her breath came fast. The sound of battle outside made her whole body shake. Through the cracks in the stone, she saw the human soldier, Ethan, moving through the darkness. His armor glowed faintly and every step looked heavy. He fired into the distance, returning shots toward the alien patrol that had surrounded them. The soldiers of the Kari shouted in their native tongue, Human intruder, eliminate him! Lyra's heart twisted. These were her own people, the same ones she had once prayed would protect her. Now they wanted to kill the man who had brought her child back. The little girl stirred in her arms, whimpering softly. Mama? Shh, Lyra whispered. Don't be afraid. She pressed her back to the cold wall. The ground shook as explosions hit nearby. Dust filled the air. Ethan ducked behind a piece of broken metal, his breathing ragged. Stay where you are, he shouted toward her. Don't come out! But she couldn't just sit there. The Kari soldiers were moving closer. She could see their glowing eyes, hear their heavy steps. One of them pointed toward her hiding place. Movement! Over there. Lyra's pulse jumped. Without thinking, she grabbed the plasma blade lying beside her. Its light flickered weakly, but it was enough. When the soldier came around the corner, she moved. A blur of silver and blue, the blade sliced through the air. The soldier fell, stunned, his weapon scattering on the ground. Ethan saw her and froze for a second. Even in battle, he looked shocked. "You can fight," he muttered. She glared at him. "You brought this danger to me." "I will finish it." He shook his head. "No, I started it. I'll end it." He stood again, firing toward the last patrol drones. When the final light faded, the ruins fell silent. Only the crackling of fire and the hum of damaged metal filled the air. Lyra lowered her blade slowly, trembling. "They will send more." Ethan nodded, wiping blood from his forehead. "Then we move now." He stepped closer, limping slightly. Lyra noticed dark stains on his armor. "Dumb blood." "You're hurt," she said. "Doesn't matter," he replied. "We need to reach the caves. There's a passage under the ridge. It leads away from their scanners." She hesitated. Her mind screamed to run far away from him, but her heart whispered otherwise. He had risked his life for her child. After a long silence, she nodded. "Lead the way." They moved through the ruins under the pale moon. Lyra carried the child. Ethan walked ahead, his weapon ready. Every sound made her flinch. Every shadow looked like danger. At last, they reached the old tunnels under the cliffs. The entrance was half buried in sand, but Ethan cleared it quickly. They stepped inside, away from the cold wind. Inside the cave, silence returned. The child slept again, peaceful despite the chaos. Ethan collapsed against the wall, breathing hard. The glow from his armor dimmed. Blood leaked through a crack in his side plate. Lyra knelt beside him. "You are bleeding too much." He gave a weak smile. "Old wound." It opened again. She studied him, this human who had crossed worlds to return a single child. "Why did you come here?" she asked quietly. "Humans have peace now. You could have stayed safe." His eyes met hers. "Because I promised." "Promised who?" "The woman who died protecting her baby," he said softly. "She begged me to save her child. I didn't even know her name, but I swore I would find where the baby belonged." Lyra felt her throat tighten. "And you found me." He nodded weakly. "It took years. I searched every record, every signal. When I heard your transmission light still burning in these ruins, I knew it was you." She looked at him in silence. The walls around them shimmered with faint bioluminescent moss casting soft green light. "Why would you care?" she finally asked. "Your people destroyed mine." He closed his eyes. "Not all of us wanted that war. Some of us fought our own commanders. We tried to protect the civilians, but the chaos, it swallowed everything." He took a shaky breath. "Your child, she was found in a crashed transport. We thought she was human at first. When I realized the truth, I hid her. If the army had known, they would have taken her for study." Lyra gasped softly. "You risked your life?" He gave a faint laugh. "Every day." She grew fast, strong. She would sing to the stars at night. She always said someone out there was listening. I guess she was right. Lyra's eyes glistened. She looked down at the little girl now sleeping beside them, her tiny hand clutching the pendant around her neck. "She is all I had left," Lyra whispered. "I prayed every night for her return." Ethan's gaze softened. "Then your prayers worked." Silence filled the cave again. Outside, thunder rolled in the distance. Lyra reached into her satchel and pulled out a small vial of glowing liquid, a healing serum. She hesitated, then pressed it to his wound. "Hold still," she said. He winced as it burned but didn't pull away. "You don't have to be quiet," she muttered. "You returned my child. You will not die here." For a few moments, there was only the sound of rain hitting the stone outside. When the treatment finished, Ethan leaned back. "Thank you. You humans are strange," she said softly. "You destroy, yet you heal." He smiled faintly. "Maybe both things can be true." Hours passed. The storm above grew louder. Lyra sat beside her sleeping child, watching the human soldier. His armor was cracked, his face pale. She saw the exhaustion in his eyes, but also peace, as if he had finally done something right after years of guilt. She spoke quietly. "My people will not accept you. They still see humans as murderers." He nodded. "I know, but I didn't come for them. I came for her." He looked at the child. "She deserves to know where she came from." Lyra's expression softened. For the first time, she saw not an enemy, but a man who had carried a burden alone for too long. "Maybe," she said, "you should tell me what she was like." Before this, he smiled gently, voice weak but warm. She loved to chase the sunbeams through the trees on Earth. She called the sky her playground. She drew pictures of silver mountains and said that's where her real home was. Lyra's heart ached at his words. She remembered this place. She dreamed of it, he said. Every night, Lyra brushed her hand over the child's hair. Tears welled in her eyes. She will know the truth now. Ethan nodded slowly. She already does. Suddenly, a sharp noise came from the cave entrance, footsteps echoing through the tunnel. Lyra's head snapped up. They found us. Ethan tried to stand but fell to one knee. His strength was nearly gone. She grabbed his weapon and pointed it toward the sound. 3 Kari soldiers appeared, their armor glowing blue. The leader shouted, "Step away from the human, Lyra. He is an invader." Lyra stood tall, the child behind her. "He is not an invader," she said. "He brought my daughter home." The soldiers exchanged confused looks. "That's impossible." Ethan lifted his head weakly. "Let her speak," he rasped. The leader raised his weapon. "He lies." Humans always lie. Before he could shoot, Lyra stepped in front of Ethan, spreading her arms. "Then you'll have to kill me first." The soldiers hesitated. None of them expected defiance from her. The child woke, crying softly. The sound filled the cave. The leader froze. His weapon lowered slightly. "That sound," he whispered. Lyra's voice was firm now. "This is my child. Taken by war. Returned by this human. You call yourself protectors, then protect what is right." A long silence followed. The soldiers slowly lowered their weapons. Ethan's vision blurred. He could barely keep his eyes open. "It's okay," he murmured. "She's safe now." Lyra knelt beside him.
Stay awake.
"You promised to bring her home. You can't leave yet." He smiled faintly. "Maybe I'm already home too." He fell unconscious, his breathing shallow. Lyra pressed her hand to his chest, feeling his heartbeat slow. She turned to the soldiers. "Help me now." They hesitated only a moment before obeying. Together they lifted Ethan and carried him deeper into the caves, away from danger. Outside, the storm cleared. The first rays of dawn touched the broken world. Lyra looked down at the man who had once been her enemy, now her savior, and whispered, "I will not let you die for what you gave back." She held her child close, tears shining in her eyes. The cradle was no longer empty, but her journey was not over yet. The caves were silent except for the slow, uneven breathing of the human. Ethan lay on a stone bed, pale and still. His armor was cracked, his body weak. Beside him, the small alien child slept peacefully, her tiny hand resting near his. Lyra sat close, watching both of them. The soft green light from the glowing moss touched her face, showing the worry in her eyes. She had cleaned Ethan's wound and sealed it with Kari medicine, but he had lost too much blood. His skin was cold. Every few minutes she checked if he was still breathing. The soldiers who had once hunted him now stood guard at the cave entrance. Their weapons were lowered. They had seen enough to understand that this man was not an enemy. Still, the air was full of tension. Outside, the wind carried the scent of smoke and metal. The world above was changing, but no one knew if it was changing for better or worse. Lyra whispered softly to the sleeping child. "He brought you back to me, my little star. He gave everything to keep you safe." The child stirred, opening her eyes. "Mama, where is he?" Lyra smiled sadly. "He is resting. He needs strength." The girl crawled closer to Ethan and touched his face gently. He always smiled when I sang. "Should I sing again?" Lyra's heart melted. "Yes," she said. "Sing for him." The girl began to hum a soft tune, a lullaby from earth mixed with the melody of the Kari people. Her small voice echoed through the cave like a warm light. Ethan's breathing grew steadier. His fingers twitched slightly. Lyra gasped, hope filling her chest. "It's working," she whispered. She placed her hand over his. "You must wake up, human. You are not done yet." Hours later, Ethan's eyes fluttered open. He looked around confused until he saw Lyra and the child beside him. "You're both safe," he murmured. Lyra nodded, smiling through tears. "Thanks to you." He tried to sit up, but pain shot through his body. She gently pushed him back. "Rest, you have done enough." He gave a weak laugh. "Did they kill me yet?" "No," she said softly. "They are guarding you," he blinked, surprised. "Guarding me?" "They saw the truth," she replied. "They saw what you risked." For a moment, they both stayed quiet, listening to the soft sound of dripping water. Finally, Lyra spoke again. "The council must know what happened. They must see you. If they understand, maybe the hatred can end. Ethan shook his head slowly. They'll execute me the moment I walk into their city. Not if I speak first, she said firmly. I am a mother who got her child back. They will listen to me. He looked into her eyes and saw the same fierce determination he once had in battle. But this time, it wasn't driven by anger. It was love. Then we go together, he said. By the next morning, Ethan could walk again, though his steps were slow. The soldiers led them through the tunnels until they reached the open plain. The rising sun painted the sky gold. The ruined world looked alive for the first time in years. In the distance, the alien city of Kara stood, tall crystal towers glowing faintly under the sunlight. But around its borders, human ships hovered like silent ghosts. Peace had been declared, but trust was fragile. As they approached the city gate, guards shouted warnings. Human presence. Stay back! Lyra raised her hands. Lower your weapons. He is not here to fight. The guards hesitated when they saw the child, the same missing infant whose disappearance had become a legend among their people. Whispers spread quickly. The lost one. She returned. They stepped aside. Inside the grand hall, the alien council waited, 5 elders sitting behind a floating crystal table. Their eyes were sharp, filled with suspicion as they looked at Ethan. Lyra held her child close and stepped forward. This man risked everything to return my daughter. He could have stayed safe on his own world. Instead, he crossed the stars. The eldest elder frowned. And why should we believe him? Ethan stood straight, though pain still echoed in his body. Because I was there, he said quietly. I saw what war did to both our kinds. I saw soldiers burning villages, killing children. I couldn't stop them all, but I saved one. I swore I'd bring her home. The room fell silent. Lyra added, if humans and Kari can destroy together, maybe they can also heal together. The elders exchanged glances. The youngest among them spoke softly. If what you say is true, then this human has done something our own people never dared. Show mercy. The eldest nodded slowly. Then let the peace begin here. Outside the hall, the news spread through the city. Aliens gathered in the streets to see the human who had returned a stolen child. For the first time in years, humans were not seen as monsters, but as people capable of compassion. Ethan stood in the sunlight, blinking as if he couldn't believe he was still alive. Lyra turned to him. You did it. You kept your promise, he smiled weakly. No, we did it. The little girl ran around them laughing. She pointed toward the sky where the human ships hovered. Can they come down now? She asked innocently. Lyra looked at Ethan. He nodded. Maybe one day, Lyra said softly, when everyone learns to forgive. Days passed. Ethan stayed in the city under protection. The Kari healers worked on his wounds. Lyra visited every day with her daughter, bringing stories, songs, and food. One evening, as the twin moons rose, Ethan sat outside the city wall, watching the horizon. Lyra joined him, sitting quietly beside him. It's peaceful now, he said. For the first time, she replied. I can sleep without fear, he smiled. That's good. She looked at him, her expression gentle. When you first came here, I wanted to kill you. He laughed softly. You almost did, and now... She hesitated. Now I don't know what to call you. He turned toward her. A friend, maybe. She nodded slowly. Yes, a friend who returned what the universe took from me. They sat in silence, watching the stars appear one by one. Weeks later, the first peace meeting between humans and Kari took place in the same hall. Ethan, though still weak, was invited as an honored witness. The child, now known as the Bridge of Two Worlds, stood between the two delegations, holding both a human flag and a Kari crystal symbol. When the leaders signed the treaty, the entire hall echoed with applause. Lyra looked across the room and met Ethan's eyes. He smiled faintly and nodded. The moment felt unreal, the end of years of hatred and pain. After the meeting, she found him outside again, leaning against a stone pillar, looking up at the twin moons. You look tired, she said. He chuckled. Just old memories. She stepped closer. Do you regret coming back? He shook his head. No, I only regret that I couldn't save more. She touched his shoulder gently. You saved enough, he turned to her. What will you do now? I will raise her, Lyra said. Teach her to love both worlds and yours and mine. Ethan smiled. Then maybe there's hope after all. The little girl ran toward them laughing, holding 2 flowers and 1 blue, 1 white. "One for Mama," she said, giving it to Lyra, "and 1 for you, Papa Ethan." Ethan froze. His eyes filled with emotion. He knelt down and took the flower. "Thank you, little one." Lyra watched him, her heart heavy and full at once. He stood again, looking at the horizon. "I think my time here is ending," he said softly. "Your people will rebuild now. My work is done." Lyra's eyes widened. "You're leaving?" He nodded slowly. "My ship can take me home, but I'll come back when the stars are kind." The child hugged his leg tightly. "Don't go, Papa," he smiled gently, kneeling beside her. "I'll always be with you. Every time you look at the stars, I'll be there." Lyra's eyes filled with tears. "You will always have a place here." He nodded, his voice barely a whisper. "And you, and both of you, gave me something I thought I lost forever. Forgiveness." The next morning, the sky shimmered with golden light. Ethan's ship rose slowly, engines glowing. Lyra and her daughter stood watching, hands linked. The little girl waved until the ship became a distant spark. Lyra whispered, "He returned more than my child. He returned my faith." As the sun rose higher, the empty cradle back in the ruins remained quiet, but beside it now stood a new one, freshly carved from crystal, waiting for the next generation born in peace. And across the galaxy, a single human carried a small pendant with the Kari symbol close to his heart, a reminder that even in the darkest wars, hope can return home.